For millions of Americans, Ainsley Earhardt is a familiar presence, calm, composed, and smiling into their mornings. But behind that steady voice is a life shaped by loss, betrayal, and grief that never made headlines. Ainsley Earhardt didn't just build a career under pressure. She learned how to keep going while quietly falling apart. Her story isn't about fame. It's about what it costs to survive when life refuses to slow down. Ambition before everything. Ainsley Earhardt was never confused about what she wanted. Long before she became one of the most recognizable faces on Fox News, she was already driven by a singular focus: success. Born in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and raised in a family grounded in faith and discipline, she learned early that nothing came without effort. Her parents worked relentlessly, and ambition wasn't encouraged. It was expected. As a teenager, Ainsley dreamed of the spotlight. Acting fascinated her. Television captivated her. She followed award shows obsessively and imagined herself under studio lights. But practicality intervened. Acting felt uncertain. Journalism didn't. It offered visibility, stability, and a sense of purpose. That decision would define her entire life. In college, she tasted New York for the first time during a church trip, and the city left a permanent mark on her. She woke up at 3 a.m. just to stand outside the Today Show holding a sign, already picturing herself on the other side of the camera. That moment wasn't a joke. It was a promise to herself. Her academic path wasn't linear. She started studying biology at Florida State University, believing it was the responsible choice. But it never fit. Watching television journalist Lisa Gibbons speak about her career made everything click. Ainsley transferred to the University of South Carolina, switched to journalism, and found her calling. From the start, she worked harder than most. She took local reporting jobs, anchored morning news, stayed late, volunteered for extra shifts, and built credibility piece by piece. She didn't wait for opportunities. She chased them. That mindset carried her through local CBS affiliates and eventually into larger markets. But there was a price she didn't yet understand. To rise, she postponed everything else. Relationships, stability, motherhood, family came later, career came first. At the time, it felt logical. In hindsight, it would haunt her. By the time Fox News took notice of her work, Ainsley had already trained herself to sacrifice rest, emotion, and personal life for professional momentum. When she was invited to audition in New York, she didn't hesitate. She moved cities, left behind familiarity, and doubled down on ambition. This wasn't recklessness. It was belief. Belief that if she worked hard enough, life would eventually fall into place. What she couldn't see yet was that success doesn't protect you from loss. Sometimes it only delays it. Fox News, faith, and public scrutiny. When Ainsley Earhardt arrived at Fox News, she didn't arrive quietly. She arrived prepared. Years of local reporting had taught her how to speak clearly under pressure, how to connect with viewers without sounding rehearsed, and how to stay calm even when the news cycle was chaotic. From the beginning, executives noticed something different about her. She wasn't trying to imitate anyone. She wasn't chasing trends. She was simply herself. That authenticity quickly translated on air. Viewers, especially those in the South and Midwest, felt they recognized her. She spoke like them. She shared their values. She didn't hide her Christian faith, and she didn't apologize for it either. In an industry where religion was often treated as a liability, Ainsley treated it as a foundation. Her career reached a defining moment when she joined Fox and Friends. By the time she officially became a co-host, she had already spent years proving she belonged. She worked brutal hours, sometimes arriving in the evening, staying overnight, anchoring through the morning, and then remaining to do headlines. She later admitted that those years nearly broke her physically, but she loved them. She believed sacrifice was part of the calling. In 2016, when she secured a permanent seat on Fox and Friends, she described it as finally being able to breathe. It was the job she had worked toward for half her life, but the higher the visibility, the harsher the scrutiny. Ainsley quickly became a lightning rod. Supporters admired her warmth, her faith, and her refusal to separate belief from professional life. Critics saw something else entirely. She was labeled Fox News Barbie by detractors who dismissed her intelligence based on appearance alone. Others accused her of weaponizing religion for political protection. Some mocked her voice, others questioned her sincerity. Public figures from outside the network openly attacked her. Late-night hosts ridiculed her. Commentators called her shallow, self-serving, or worse. Ainsley rarely responded publicly. When she did speak about criticism, she framed it as something she expected. She believed that being outspoken about faith meant accepting backlash as part of the role. What made the criticism especially painful was its timing. Many of the harshest attacks landed while she was navigating private pain, struggles no one watching at home could see. She would sit on set, smiling into the camera, while carrying grief that never made it into the broadcast. Despite the pressure, she never backed away from her beliefs. She continued interviewing pastors, discussing faith-based topics, and reminding viewers that religion still mattered to her. Fox News never asked her to stop. In fact, it became part of her identity on the network. Her visibility grew even more when Donald Trump repeatedly praised Fox and Friends and publicly endorsed her memoir, The Light Within Me. The endorsement amplified her profile and intensified the backlash. To critics, she was no longer just a television host. She became a symbol of everything they opposed. What few people realized was how isolating that position was. Ainsley had millions of viewers, but very few places to hide. Every opinion, every sentence, every expression was dissected. And through it all, she kept showing up. Love, marriage, and the first fracture. Before Ainsley Earhardt became a national figure, before the criticism and the praise, she believed she had already found the person she would build her life with. Kevin McKinney was her college sweetheart, someone who knew her before the cameras, before New York, before Fox News. Their relationship grew quietly, away from the pressure that would later define her life. They married in a lavish ceremony at the South Carolina governor's mansion, surrounded by family, friends, and the promise of stability. At the time, everything seemed aligned. Ainsley was advancing in her career. Kevin supported her ambitions. The future looked organized, planned, and secure. Exactly the kind of life she had always worked toward. But timing would quietly undo them. Shortly after the wedding, Ainsley's career accelerated faster than either of them anticipated. She moved to San Antonio for a reporting job, then relocated again when Fox News offered her a position in New York. Each move meant longer hours, higher pressure, and less room for anything outside work. Her mornings started earlier. Her nights ended later. Home became a place she passed through rather than lived in. By the time she officially joined Fox News, the marriage was already under strain. The demands of a national news career don't arrive gradually. They crash into daily life. Privacy disappears. Schedules stop aligning. Small distance turns into emotional separation. The divorce came quietly. No dramatic statements, no public accusations, no interviews explaining what went wrong. They separated in 2009, just 2 years after Ainsley joined Fox News, and right as her profile was rising. Rumors circulated about a possible third party, but neither Ainsley nor Kevin ever confirmed them. What remained clear was that the marriage ended while her career was taking off. For Ainsley, the timing was brutal. Professionally, she was gaining momentum. Personally, she was losing the life she thought she had secured. Divorce brought grief, guilt, and self-doubt, emotions she had never learned to process publicly. There was no time to slow down. Fox News didn't pause. The audience didn't disappear. The camera still turned on every morning. So Ainsley did what she had always done. She kept working. Motherhood delayed, infertility and loss. When Ainsley Earhardt married Will Proctor, she believed she was finally stepping into the chapter she had postponed for years. By then, her career was stable, her place at Fox News secure, and for the first time, she felt ready to become a mother. For most of her adult life, family had come second. Now she believed the timing was right. But life didn't respond to planning. Ainsley had always been methodical. She planned her education, her career moves, even the city she wanted to live in. She assumed motherhood would follow the same logic. Instead, she encountered a reality she had never prepared for. Month after month passed without success. Doctor's appointments replaced expectations. Hope turned into quiet disappointment. What made it harder was the isolation. Ainsley later admitted that everywhere she looked, she saw reminders of what she didn't have. Pregnant women on sidewalks, strollers in parks, friends announcing pregnancies. Professionally, she was surrounded by accomplishment. Personally, she felt left behind. She began questioning her own body, her age, and the choices she had made by prioritizing work for so long. After nearly 8 months of trying, she finally became pregnant. The relief was overwhelming. She and Will heard their baby's heartbeat during the first appointment and recorded it, believing the hardest part was behind them. They shared the news with family, cautiously hopeful but deeply grateful. At the next appointment, the heartbeat was gone. The loss was sudden and devastating. Ainsley later described the moment as crushing, not just emotionally, but physically. She underwent multiple surgeries to remove the unborn child. Doctors later discovered the baby had an extra chromosome, a detail that added confusion to grief. For a long time, Ainsley blamed herself. She wondered if waiting too long had cost her the chance to become a mother. Grief didn't pass quietly. It followed her into daily life. She became acutely aware of other mothers, other babies, other futures continuing without interruption. She admitted that seeing strollers and baby bumps felt unbearable. Eventually, she found language for the loss through faith. She told herself that the child was not gone but waiting. That belief didn't erase the pain, but it gave it meaning. Betrayal, divorce, and raising a child alone. After the birth of her daughter, Ainsley Earhardt believed the worst was finally behind her. Motherhood gave her a sense of grounding she had never known before. Hayden became the center of her life, the reason she endured early mornings, long commutes, and relentless public scrutiny. From the outside, it looked like she had finally found balance. But the stability didn't last. Behind the scenes, her marriage to Will Proctor was unraveling. Years of strain, unresolved tension, and emotional distance had already taken their toll. Then came the revelation that shattered whatever trust remained. According to sources close to the couple, Ainsley discovered evidence that Will had been unfaithful, allegedly with someone she once considered a close friend. The betrayal cut deeper than the marriage itself. It fractured her sense of loyalty and safety at the same time. When news of their separation became public, the response was immediate and invasive. Statements were issued. Headlines followed. Will denied the allegations, insisting there was not 1 ounce of truth to claims of an affair and expressing devastation over the collapse of their family. Ainsley chose not to publicly detail the reasons behind the divorce. Silence, for her, was protection, especially for her daughter. The separation was announced in October, and divorce papers were filed shortly afterward. 6 years of marriage ended not with reconciliation, but with acceptance that something essential had been broken beyond repair. What followed was one of the hardest transitions of Ainsley's life. She became a single mother while maintaining one of the most demanding jobs in television. There was no gradual adjustment. She woke before dawn, went on air, returned home to care for Hayden, and repeated the cycle day after day. She admitted that parenting alone brought challenges she had never imagined, There was no one to share the load when exhaustion set in, no one to step in when emotions overwhelmed her. Still, she refused to let bitterness define the situation. Publicly, she emphasized cooperation. Privately, she focused on stability. When it came time to explain the separation to Hayden, Ainsley chose honesty without blame. She told her daughter it wasn't her fault, that she was loved, that both parents would always be there. Losing her mother, endurance, and a quiet new beginning. If divorce tested Ainsley Earhardt's resilience, losing her mother shattered whatever strength she thought she had left. Her mother, Dale, had been the emotional anchor of her life, the steady presence who believed in her long before millions of viewers ever did. Dale wasn't just a parent. She was comfort, reassurance, and unconditional support. For years, Dale battled serious health problems. She lived with diabetes, kidney disease, and unstable blood pressure. Then came the stroke, sudden and severe. Doctors warned the family that her chances of recovery were slim. For a time, she couldn't speak, walk, or breathe on her own. Against expectations, she survived, but her health never truly recovered. When the pandemic hit, Ainsley's fear deepened. Her mother was immunocompromised, traveling to hospitals multiple times a week for dialysis. Ainsley worried constantly, calling, checking in, urging caution. Even while anchoring live television, part of her attention was always elsewhere, waiting for the next phone call. That call came in October. Dale passed away after decades of illness. The loss was devastating, not only because of who her mother was, but because of what she represented, safety, in a life that had become increasingly unstable. What stunned viewers most wasn't just the loss, but what Ainsley did next. Just days after her mother's death, she returned to Fox and Friends. Sitting on set, holding back tears, she explained why. Her mother would have wanted her there. Work wasn't avoidance. It was obedience to the values her mother had instilled in her. She spoke about faith, about certainty in where her mother was, about gratitude for a woman who served her family and community without seeking recognition. And only when a co-host said her mother would be proud did Ainsley finally break, allowing herself a moment of grief in front of the audience that had watched her for years. Even after that, the pressure didn't stop. During the pandemic, she faced harsh backlash for comments about childcare and immigration, accused of privilege and insensitivity. As a single mother working before dawn, she defended herself publicly, admitting that criticism hurt because she was human. Ainsley Earhardt's life reminds us that strength doesn't always look loud or triumphant. Sometimes it just looks like showing up again. Which part of her story affected you the most? Her loss, her faith, or her perseverance? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you found this story meaningful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories behind familiar faces.